How's it going, everyone? Jesse Slammerella here, and I'm going to do a two-parter for this response to Count Blagorath's "What albums mean the most to you in your collection?" Thing here. And there's going to be like a semi two-parter, but it's not going to be broken up. Just going to be a couple of CDs I want to talk about, and then like a bigger stack here. Now, I know I said I might have not do this video, but since I don't have too much coming up in the way of collection updates or anything like that anytime soon, I figured, what the hell? Kind of a perfect time to try and do this video then. So I'm just going to kick right into it by starting off with these four albums right here. Deep Purple's Machine Head, REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity, Status Quo's Pile Driver, and Tom Petty's Full Moon Fever. Now, the reason I'm showing you these four at the moment is because these four CDs here, as well as a bunch of kind of crazy other like 70s and 80s tunes, were kind of like a big thing for me when I was younger and went on road trips with my dad to go see relatives or just different landmarks in Ontario. I don't know if you know about the Big Apple, and I'm not talking about New York, but there's this like apple pie slash applesauce slash just different apple related things in northern Ontario. Not like northern, but like northern South Ontario. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but anyways, there's this just ginormous building-sized like apple structure that we used to pass by to go to one of our relatives. Now I'm not sure if that's my grandparents that we used to pass that by when we went to Gravenhurst, or if that's my Uncle Bill and Aunt Bonnie's place that we used to pass that to go, see them. But we used to pass that along to see one of those relatives when I was younger, and we used to listen to this stack of stuff, not on CD, because, back then cars actually had tape players and cassette players, that's how old I am. And there's like mixes or just like actual, like legit copies of tapes of stuff like that. And we would listen to that for the 2-3 hour drive that it took to get there. As well, we would also sometimes go catch a movie at the Cineplex Odeon theaters here in Oshawa, and sometimes back when I don't know, Bowmanville still has one. Never mind, Bowmanville still has the Cineplex Odeon. But yeah, me and my dad used to go see movies together, kind of like a father and son thing to do. But before we went to see the movies, we'd make sure to leave really early so that we could like catch like some fast food first, either McDonald's or Burger King or something like that. And we wouldn't go into the restaurant. We'd order our food. We'd sit in one of his Nissan vehicles, because he's always bought a Nissan, be it a Sentra, be it an Altima, be it a van of some sort. But that's normally what he bought. So we'd order the food. We'd go find a kind of a place where we could just kind of be by ourselves, not like around other people, because my dad just hates other people in general. He's not a big fan of society at all. Too many idiots out there is what he would say. So anyways, we'd go find like a secluded parking spot near the restaurant and just eat our food in the car. And he would throw on like one of these albums, like I said, Deep Purple or REO Speedwagon or Status Quo or Tom Petty, or just some old rock and roll or old light metal stuff. And like just that kind of thing. And we would just sit there, talk about shit, whatever it was. We'd listen to music. We'd have some, food. And then we would, after that, go see whatever movie we were seeing that night. And that's just kind of my memories of having like fun, quality time with my dad before before stuff started to go south and we started having like butting heads and like differing opinions that kind of led to us just kind of going this way in our lives. But yeah, so that's why I like old stuff like this and still kick it and still listen to it and still kind of gives them feels, you know? But yeah, and then kind of moving right along, as I was growing up, these next kind of albums were just how I kind of expanded my musical interests and just what I've listened to. I mean, like I said in another video, I had this Alice Cooper Constrictor album in a tape form, which was actually either belonging to my mom or my mother's boyfriend at the time, being my sister's father. And like I said, they had a cassette of it, and I listened to it a lot. They'd throw it on their tape deck a lot. So this was, you know, very predominant in my childhood. Same with this, Black Sabbath's Paranoid. More so the We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, pardon me, compilation album. But I don't have that. This is the closest thing that, you know, has the songs that I was used to hearing growing up. Like Iron Man, Paranoid, Fairies Wear Boots, that kind of stuff. But same thing here. I would always be hearing it on their tape deck. They would always be playing it in their cars, traveling to and from places. Same with this. My dad used to play this a lot on his record player. He actually had a vinyl version of this. This is Led Zeppelin 4, Stairway to Heaven. Lots of great songs on here. Black Dog, Rock and Roll, Stairway to Heaven itself, Misty Mountain Hop, When the Levee Breaks. Definitely listened to this a lot in my childhood, whether I put it on myself or whether my parents were listening to it. It was just on quite often. Same with, I'm just going to skip a couple of these for a second. Same with these. Like, I was very exposed to Ozzy Osbourne when I was young. This was like the main album that I'd listened to because I had there's a cassette I think I had of it, or my parents had of it, and got passed down to me. I don't know what the fuck happened to it. I have a box somewhere with a bunch of old cassettes just kicking around. I don't even know. Probably not around me. Probably in a closet over there somewhere. But this album played a lot. No More Tears, like Mr. Tinker Train, Mama, I'm Coming Home, I Don't Want to Change the World, No More Tears, Hellraiser. Just all that stuff is very reminiscent of my, you know, like 6 years old up to 13. Just a lot of years of listening to this stuff. Same with this album. This is Soundgarden Super Unknown. You know, like Spoon Man, Black Hole Sun, the Super Unknown song itself, Fell on Black Days. This was kind of more of a depressing, kind of grungy, kind of rock and roll type thing, but it was still kind of along the lines of what got played on a very regular basis when I was growing up. Next, this I heard at first in my father's collection. He didn't really like me listening to it because he's not a fan of, you know, me being that young and listening to music that had a lot of, you know, swearing and shit in it. Haha. But he eventually let me listen to it a lot. He marked out what songs he didn't prefer me listening to, but I listened to it anyway. Come on. But this album was just amazing and definitely part of my younger years growing up. Right Next Door to Hell, Live and Let Die, Bad Obsession, Back Off Bitch, November Rain. Like, you're not a metalhead if you don't like November Rain. That is just such an epic fucking song, and you just, there's so much feels in that song. I love that so much. But it means a lot to me. Just, it reminds me of my youth and being a kid and just listening to somewhat edgy music that you weren't quite supposed to be listening to because of the language and stuff like that in it. But I don't know. I wasn't raised in Oshawa. I wasn't raised where like kids are listening to that and being exposed to sex and violence and swearing and stuff like that. Like that's a very common thing for like high schools and stuff like that, and like younger grades here in Oshawa. I mean, high schools obviously, but I mean like the younger grades, that's more of a thing here in Oshawa. Like I lived in Bowmanville, and like it was a very small kind of just chill town where not too much crime went down, not too much druggies are there, not too much like violent or like really just messed up people, just because They came from a stricter background of parents and a little more classier upbringing. Not like not like rich people, but just people with a little more homegrown moral sets that didn't involve being a delinquent and being a criminal and just like really low class fucking activity. So I came from that type of upbringing. OJ, very good. The glove did not fit. So yeah, moving right along, I got into high school and this kind of stuff just started happening. I started getting into punk and punk rock and pop punk and all that other stuff. So this album, Green Day's Nimrod, became like a big part of my listening endeavors and stuff like that. And I think inspired me to start up my punk rock band or pop punk, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it was a mix of Green Day and Blink-182 mixed with the Black Sabbath riff, and we just kind of like sang like a bunch of retards over top of it in our little geeky young kid voices. But yeah, this was a big reason why that started up. My band Kier started up, or Kyre. I still don't really care how you pronounce it. And it's still available on Facebook if you want to check it out. Go to facebook.com/KierBand and you should be able to find it. But yeah, Green Day was big for me growing up. Same with Disturbed, The Sickness. When this came out, this was a whole new ball game for me. Like David Draymond's weird vocal, ooh, ah, ah, and oh, or whatever the fuck he does, like those weird gorilla grunts. But yeah, me and my buddy Blaine Gilder were obsessed with this album when it came out. Same with my buddy Josh Clark, my buddy Jamie White, something. Whitelock? Jamie Whitelock? I think that's his name. Yeah. But yeah, all four of us were pretty big into this band, pretty big into this new metal thing that was happening. So listen to that a lot. Same with this. Korn's, Follow the Leader, Life is Peachy, the first album, the self-titled album. But this was the bigger one. I had this stolen on me. My buddy Josh Clark had his version stolen on him. We've probably went through 3 copies, each, trying to get this album, because everyone loved this album back in the day. It was all about the Korn and the Disturbed and the Rob Zombie. So, that kind of stuff just kind of grew from the oldies and the classic rock and the classic metal to like new metal and like whatever you consider this, just kind of industrial metal groovy thing. I don't even know what you consider Rob Zombie. You know what Rob Zombie sounds like. His stuff and Korn and Disturbed and just like all that kind of crazy stuff in high school, and that's just kind of what led to what I like now. And all those things, they they might not be super amazing, rare, or crazy albums, and they're pretty mainstream. I get that, but it just the sound that they have and the feeling that it gives me, I could just close my eyes and listen to them, and just it floods me with mostly good memories from when I was younger, and that's why those albums mean what they mean to me. There's a few missing from there. I mean, I could go on forever with all the old classic shit that I listened to as a kid, but out of the shit that I physically own, that is a pretty decent representation of my childhood listening endeavors. So that's that. Next up, I'm going to do part 2 of this, but this is going to be more of albums that mean a lot to me for other reasons, besides just because it brings a lot of good memories from my childhood and just whatever. So, yeah, be prepared for that. There's going to be a little heavier artist. There's going to be some other things, and I'm going to explain it there. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. This was part 1 of albums that mean the most to me. Stay safe.